So here's the deal. Frostpunk 2 is back to freeze your brain cells and your free time, and the big question is simple. Is it actually worth playing in 2025, or should you leave it buried under the snow? First things first, yes, it's still brutal. If you thought the first Frostpunk was tough with its moral gut punches, Frostpunk 2 turns the dial way up. You're not just managing coal and soup anymore. Now you're running entire political factions, juggling different visions for your city, and trying to keep the whole thing from collapsing like an ice cube in a microwave. The scope is way bigger. Cities feel more alive, the map is larger, and the consequences of your decisions echo for years, not just days. It's like the game said, "Oh, you think you're ready? Cute. Let's make you mayor, prime minister, and the emotional punching bag all at once." The politics are where the sequel really sets itself apart. You've got different groups in your city. Think of them as noisy neighbors who all want their way. Some push for progress, others cling to tradition, and a few just want everyone else to freeze so they can say, "Told you so." Every choice you make shifts power, and before you know it, half the city is chanting your name while the other half wants to toss you out into the blizzard. It's stressful in a way that feels designed to mess with your head, and honestly, that's the point. Frostpunk has always been about making you question yourself, and now it does it on a political scale. The gameplay loop is familiar but expanded. You're still building, expanding, and trying to balance resources, but instead of obsessing over every campfire, you're zooming out and managing sprawling neighborhoods and industries. It feels less intimate than the first game, but it's also more complex. You're no longer just babysitting 80 people with frostbite. You're dealing with thousands who all have opinions, needs, and plenty of ways to ruin your day. It's a trade-off. You lose some of that every life matters feeling from Frostpunk 1, but you gain a long-term strategy game that feels massive. Now let's talk about the survival side. Food, heat, and health are still a big deal, but now you've got to manage supply chains, factions, and the city's future. It's like juggling chainsaws while blindfolded, except the chainsaws are on fire and you're freezing at the same time. If you thought the first game stressed you out, this one's going to make you seriously consider if you need a therapist afterward. And yes, the game still hits you with that famous gotcha moment when you think things are stable, then boom, famine, riots, or a blizzard that makes your screen look like someone shook a snow globe too hard. Visually, Frostpunk 2 nails it. The city designs are more detailed, the weather effects are even harsher, and the whole atmosphere makes you want to put on a sweater while you're playing. The sound design matches perfectly too. Howling winds, creaking structures, angry crowds. Everything just makes you feel like the world is 2 degrees away from collapse, and you're the only thing holding it together. If nothing else, it's one of the most immersive city builders you can touch right now. But here's where things get messy. At launch, the game wasn't exactly smooth sailing. Optimization issues popped up, with some players reporting stutters, crashes, and systems that felt like they were working overtime just to keep up. It's been patched and support is ongoing, but it's worth knowing that this thing wasn't running like butter out of the gate. You'll want to make sure your rig can handle it, otherwise you're gonna spend more time fighting your PC than the cold. Another sticking point, the game is slower at times. Because it's focused on long-term politics and massive cities, you can find yourself just waiting around for things to happen. Some players love the pacing. It feels grand and weighty, but others find it drags. Compared to the tight, tense loops of the original, Frostpunk 2 sometimes feels like it's giving you busy work while you wait for the next big disaster to smack you in the face. And then there's the complexity. This isn't exactly newcomer friendly. If you've never played Frostpunk before, jumping straight into Frostpunk 2 is like skipping kindergarten and being thrown into a PhD program. The systems are dense, the politics are layered, and the learning curve is a cliff. That's part of its charm for veterans, but it also means it's not the kind of game you casually recommend to a buddy who just downloaded their first strategy title. Another critique popping up is that it doesn't always carry the same emotional punch as the first game. The original Frostpunk hit you with those gut-wrenching choices where you'd literally pause and stare at the screen, wondering if you were a monster. Frostpunk 2 has those moments, but the larger, more political scale sometimes dilutes that feeling. It's less about a single child dying in the cold and more about which political ideology is going to crush you first. That shift is bold, but it won't work for everyone. On the brighter side, the game has a ton of replayability. Different factions, different strategies, and different ways to build your society all mean no two playthroughs feel exactly the same. You can lean into progress and tech or hunker down into tradition and control. You can build a shining future city or watch it collapse into chaos because you trusted the wrong people. Add in community mods that are already rolling out, and you're looking at a game with serious legs. But yeah, the numbers at launch told a different story. Despite the hype, the player counts didn't reach the high peaks some expected. That led to headlines about the game underperforming and even caused some business drama behind the scenes. None of that changes the fact that the game itself is solid, but it did fuel the narrative that Frostpunk 2 didn't blow the roof off like some people thought it would. The devs are still supporting it though, with updates, patches, and a console release that's already locked in, so the story isn't over yet. So where does all of this leave you? On one hand, Frostpunk 2 is one of the most ambitious city builders you can play right now. It's bigger, deeper, and more political than the original, with incredible atmosphere and gameplay that really makes you think. On the other hand, it's heavier, slower, and sometimes rough around the edges. It's less personal, more complex, and not as instantly gripping as the first game. You could say it's less about surviving the cold and more about surviving politics, which feels a little too close to real life sometimes. If you're the kind of player who loves long-term strategy, harsh survival, and games that make you question every decision, Frostpunk 2 is absolutely worth your time. But if you love the first game for its emotional intimacy and brutal every decision could kill a person vibe, this might feel like it's missing some of that heart. And if you're brand new to the series, maybe dip into the first one before diving into this frozen political nightmare. At the end of the day, Frostpunk 2 is a game that demands patience, brain power, and a bit of masochism. You'll curse it, you'll stress over it, and you'll probably want to uninstall it at least once. But then you'll boot it back up because there's nothing else quite like it. Just don't expect comfort. This isn't the kind of game you relax with. This is the kind of game that makes you ask yourself if being a dictator is really that bad, as long as everyone's warm. So, is it worth playing in 2025? If you're ready for a bigger, colder, and more complicated Frostpunk, then yes. Just make sure your PC can handle it and your sanity can too. If not, maybe go play something warm and cozy, because this game isn't here to comfort you, it's here to break you.